All right, everybody. Good evening and welcome. Um, I'm not Richard Linklater, but I play him on TV. Um, I hope so far everybody's having a good evening. Looks like it may be an empty house. I'm sorry that Juno's not here, but he is, probably doing more reshoots for the Cobra uh, film or something, But anyway, currently in the his house, we have the goat Chester Franklin, we have Jimbo Jack and Alan, and we also have Sailor George is in the house. Good to see you. Um, and we have JuneXas is here in the house and stuff. So yeah, Alan, he's gonna magically appear probably in mere seconds now that I'm live. You know, so I'll wait till people get in here and stuff. But tonight, present the first movie in my Richard Linklater retrospective of Slacker. This is pretty much what the title implies. Slacker. A slacker is somebody that takes the easy life and does nothing. So kind of like the way you know some of our lives are these days. And Anthony Chipotle is in the house, and Shamarlo Scott is in the house. Happy birthday, Anthony. Hope all is well. And Shamarlos ate macaroni and cheese, and so there we go. I know what you're trying to do there, Sailor George. You know that I don't like football, so I have no comment on the NFL and all that stuff, but it's all good for everybody that likes it and whatnot. So, but it's good to see you, Scott. I'm glad you're here, and Sailor George. Um, it's unfortunately, StreamYard has, jumped the shark with all of us, because, I'm not paying for a fucking subscription. I'll do halvesies with somebody that wants to do that, but, we won't be able to, until I figure out the thing to play the promos on and things like that. So, but that's the way that goes. So trying to see what else. Oh, the trailer dropped today for the 28 years later, the Bone Temple, and it looks fantastic. So that's in January, and that'll be a good deal. It's also a movie out or coming out with Kate Hudson and Elizabeth Moss called The Shell. I pretty much have called it The Substance too because it looks whack as fuck. So I'm not too keen on that, but there's a lot of stuff coming out. But throw us a joke, Chester. Throw us a joke. We, see, I think, sports teams need to actually be in the costumes of what they are. Like the Lions should actually, those dudes should dress like lions, the 49ers could dress like gold miners and they would have their uh pickaxes, and I don't know. I think rollerball should become a reality. That's my whole thing. See, it's unfortunate that Zodiac and Ashton aren't in here because they would be talking football. And we got P. Rich, the man. I hope things are going good, P. Rich. Good to see you. Why did the bicycle collapse? Because it was too tired. Yeah, I can see how it was. But I'll give this, a little bit so we can get, some more people in and whatnot. And Russell's here. Good evening, Russell. Hope things are going well out there in Canada land. But yeah, so that's about all I've got going on with me and whatnot. You know, I hope everybody had a good Labor Day weekend. And enjoying those few days off. Because now it's all back to business, and all that good stuff. But for those of you that are unfamiliar with Richard Linklater, I mean, I know you know him because his couple of his biggest hit movies were Dazed and Confused and School of Rock. He's done a lot more things than I imagined, but I have to. There's this deal where you can look up his movies, but it shows a lot of movies that were directed by Ethan Hawke, and they're like good friends. And of course, Ethan Hawke has been in a bunch of his movies, but some of it like made no sense because I was like, I don't remember this being like directed by Richard Linklater. It's like this is an Ethan Hawke film and stuff like that. Shemp Timber, there we go. Yeah, Shemp Timber is always welcome. Larry, Coily, and Mo. But this is a fun movie filmed in Austin, Texas, with a bunch of Austinites and stuff. A lot of people that were in bands and other sorts. Few people that I know in the film. Um, Pretty much one friend of mine. He said he knew everybody in this film. Hey Peyton, welcome. Glad to see you. Hope things are going well. Brooke, you should sound the alarm, to the other, familia and get them in here or whatever. Or have Ashton pick them up in the RV or whatever's going on. That's good, Peyton. Glad to hear that. So, other movies coming up, I haven't decided um, exactly yet, uh, but one of them is probably going to be Before Sunrise, which was a movie that he did with Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. It was a good friend of mine's favorite film who's passed on now, and actually I still have never seen it, so it would be a first time watch for me and whatnot. And then uh, Juno wants me to do Suburbia, which not the Penelope Spheris one, which I've already done, but the other one that Richard Linklater did with Giovanni Ribisi and Nikki Cat, and which would probably do that. And then I'm trying to think, maybe do a couple more or whatever. So quite a few things. And we have Black Glove Reviews, also known as Chris, in the house. Good to see you, Chris. Welcome. Hope things are good. Hopefully, you had a good Labor Day weekend. It was good seeing you on, the other day on Dirk and Darren's for their Beyond stream. That deep dive, which was great. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Even Jimmy Jam showed up for that, and that was a fun one. And if anybody hasn't seen that, go over to Subjective Perspective Collective's channel and check that out. Okay, Brooke, thank you for going to check the van. Stuff like that. Just to let you all know too that this was, Linklater's first movie. I guess he had done some short films and whatnot in there. So this is not a sequel of a sequel or the prequel of the sequel. That was the original of the other sequel or whatever. There's been rumors for quite a number of years that he was going to do a sequel to School of Rock, but those kids are all adults now, so that's going to get like older and older, and Jack Black is not a young one himself anymore, so that's another thing too. Yeah, I understand that, Chris, because I know you work your ass off, and so yeah, that can be hard. Oh yeah, and just so everyone knows, this movie is not in 3D, but Chester will pass out the 3D glasses. Just like that, I love that line in Valley Girl. Is this movie in 3D? No, but your face is. That's you know such a great line by the excellent Nicolas Cage. You need to get to cooking up on those mid Morris. Hey, Nikki, great to see you. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to get this started in a couple of minutes. So, everybody, there's a LookMovie link pinned at the top of the chat. And then there's also the it's on HBO Max. Have I seen a film called Street Girls? No. I have seen oh man, what was that? There's this movie from '85, Street Life, I think, with Melissa Leo, which is really good. Then there's that documentary called Streetwise about these young runaway kids, which I've seen parts of. And then they did a sequel to that, like an updated, because that's a documentary, and there's an updated sequel to that. But I don't think I've seen Street Girls. The other day I did see somebody, I forgot the name of the channel. I wish I could remember, but they did a review on New Wave Hookers, which was some of that pornography, that had originally Tracy Lords was in it, and then after that whole scandal hit, they took, edited out her stuff and put Ginger Lynn on the cover. So, and of course, it doesn't do much after that, but it was done by Gregory Dark, and he went on to direct a whole bunch of like music videos and stuff like that. And Chester says, how do trees get online? They just log on. Yeah, but that's very true. 74, directed by Michael Miller. I'll have to check that out because, if it's 74, that's pretty, up my alley there. Have you seen My Arms Are Too Short to Box with God? Well, I think that's a lot of people's problems, that their arms are too short to box with God. I don't think I've ever seen it. I know I've definitely never seen Hey God, It's Me, Margaret, or whatever. And, that actually sounds kind of outright scary. But yeah, so I don't know if everybody's ready. I'm gonna go ahead and get this going and whatnot. See, there's Russell to counteract everything that anybody says. So anyway, 89, 90, 91, it doesn't matter as long as it's the correct film. Anyway, I'm going to give a 10 count, and then we'll get this going on. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, tres, dos, uno. Press play, bitches. So we have our opening shot of Richard Linklater. Actually, he stars or makes a cameo in his film, and he's in a cab coming from the airport, or he's on the bus in this, but I know he takes a cab. It's been a bit since I've seen this. Last time I watched this was a couple of years ago. It's funny because first time I ever saw this, I was still living in California, and I came down here every once in a while on a vacation. And so a couple of friends of mine were like, you know, we rented this movie, you got to see it. And it's like, okay. And it's like, it's called Slacker. I hadn't even heard of it, and you're like, but, you know, we were around when they filmed this movie and blah, blah, blah. And then so we watched it and I just was laughing my ass off because I'm just like, okay, this is crazy because it's just a bunch of what, I would call Texas psychobabble. And it's funny now to actually in the background here see Dillard's, which, was kind of like Macy's, and it doesn't exist anymore and stuff. So, so basically here, Richard Linklater is talking to this cabbie and he's just talking about his dreams, and the guy's just listening, but he doesn't like, obviously he doesn't really care, and all that. How many dreams do you have where you're reading a dream? Actually, that's kind of interesting because I wouldn't know. I don't believe I've ever had one, where they, I've had a dream where I've read in it or whatever. Then he throws in the Wizard of Oz and the separate realities because they were dancing, you know, and crossing the roads and all that sort of stuff. This is almost like he's explaining the Marvel universe or something like that. That's a good thing, Chris. Getting Caged Heat and Jackson County Jail; those are both excellent. So the cabbie, drops him off, and this woman was just struck by this car as he was crossing the street and whatnot. they kind of, go back and do the sort of circle around or whatever. And then this one guy starts, stops, and then he's kind of trying to pick up the jogger, and you know, it it just kind of goes like haywire. Some guy, whose body is this? Here, call this guy. Are these your groceries, lady? And then the person that hit the lady comes back around the corner, stops, and gets out, and then he's going into this house. It's sort of just like, these weird what the fuck moments, and things like that. Yeah, actually, I think that was his mother or something, and then it's just, but I mean, it's just not, I mean, this movie is just about, yeah, he was just like, somebody said something about that. He's like, oh, drag. He goes, well, were there any witnesses or anything, It's so bizarre. Like, and then he has this bizarre ass, like, shrine. But I mean, this is just one single thing. This movie is just so many just weird things. Okay, Chester, that's fine. You can say them anytime you want. And then he cut, like, I think his picture or something out of this yearbook, and he's setting it on fire. It's just like, all right then. And then he was going to record something on his deck, but the cops are coming, so it's like, well, can't do that. And then yeah, he opens this thing, and there's these, like, uh, two Mr. Potato Heads, and he's showing like a film, like, where I guess like the screen would be inside the cabinet with the Mr. Potato Heads. It's just, this is so whacked out and weird. And then he just picks up this bag, and he's going to take off, and he leaves the film running, and whatnot. But it looks like he took the hand with him, because there was a hand, but there's also some cars, you know. So now, they're arresting him and stuff. But I don't even know if they, anybody really saw that it was him. But there's. And it's just this, so now, this one guy is like busking on this corner, and then this girl walks by because this is just a thing where it just takes place in for like 24 hours. Hey, Steve Areno's in the house. Good to see you. And this was way like before like Austin got gentrified and everything. So then we're like in this coffee shop, and these, you know, guys are talking about Dostoevsky, and then this one guy is like, okay, well he's gonna leave and whatnot. So so this guy's telling this kid that basically that the space program was just a big cover up, and that when they landed on the moon, and that they were saying, look over there in the crater, that there was another spacecraft and stuff. And he's like, you want to know how we got there, right? Well, I'll tell you, anti-gravity technology. It's just like, there's always people that always have these, conspiracy theories about different stuff. So now he's telling him, of course, that there's this movie, and these people were turned into zombies and had them colonize the moon and Mars, and things like that. We've been on Mars since '62. The guy says May 22nd is a date that you need to remember. And then he goes, yeah, it's my birthday. Exactly, violent zombification. John Dies at the End was a good movie. The whole thing, this guy's just sort of like, okay, just probably wishing like this guy would just, you know, piss off, but he keeps telling him about all this stuff that, the CIA is doing and working on all these things. And you've got people that don't know who they are, where they came from, but you tell them to do something and they do it. I'm just going to stick around outside and, kind of see that we weren't followed. Then he follows this couple. He's like, oh, you're just going home. Okay, well, I'm just doing a security check. Yeah, I would have told the guy to fuck off as well too. So now this one guy's talking to this couple about how this guy like left and he disappeared. All his stuff's gone, but there were these postcards like in the middle of the room and stuff. Well, I mean, Austin, was cool, but I haven't been to Austin and Jesus, probably 40 fucking years. No, actually, no, that's wrong. I haven't been. I did go to Austin, spent a week with some friends, and that was in 2014. I'd forgotten about that. So it's been like 11 years since I've been there and stuff. The guy that just walked in with like that plaid shirt is this guy Brian Beatty, who was like um was a drummer for trying to remember which band he was in. Fuck, it's been so damn long, but he was they show him taking off, and then then this girl that he runs into was actually his girlfriend. She was in the band with him. This is the part where Teresa Nervosa, who was like one of the drummers in Butthole Surfers, comes up and she tries to sell them a Madonna pap smear that and stuff. And welcome, Jim. Good to see you. They had 6 or 7 pit cars. You're welcome, Jim. Getting down to the real Madonna. Yeah, I'm glad you got that movie, Jim. I need to get that as well. It was a she, Alan, not a guy. Yeah, somebody will pick that up, Jim, eventually, and you know, some kind of 4K bullshit, and they'll throw all this bunch of stuff on it. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Jim. Yeah, I I know that tinnitus can be like a bitch. So here's this guy. He's selling free Nelson Mandela T-shirts and whatnot, and you know, I do remember that, Alan. But So, these people keep passing by like each other and stuff. And so this woman's telling this girl about Bombay, and then she's going to tell her that the next person that passes us is going to die within a fortnight. So now they're showing the guy that's going back. It was like fucked up because that guy offered him a paper, out of the machine. He's like 2 for 1 special. He goes, "Oh, no, thanks." And then he puts his money in and the fucking machine doesn't work. He goes into this diner and people are just absolutely fucking nuts. You should never name things in order. Well, I'm sure you did amazing regardless, Jim, and stuff. Yeah, I should be around on Saturday and stuff. And I mean, I'll probably be there Tuesday, incognito or something. I'm not really fucking worried about it. I don't give a shit. But, I hope that you have a good night and everything. So this guy just shows up to pick up his coffee in his fucking robe and stuff. Have a good evening again, Jim. Thank you for coming in and hanging out for a while. So this guy brings the paper home to like his girlfriend or something, and she's watching like Geraldo or something, and it was about some kind of obvious killer or some bullshit. Yeah, this guy is like a real winner talking about, premeditated fun. I did not sell that, Alan, on eBay. I don't remember. I don't even know. I know I don't have it anymore. Oh yeah, these kids, they have this trick where this girl will press the buttons on the Coke machine and then somebody will run up and kick the thing and then you're getting free drinks. And then they go to like resell them to people and stuff. Yeah, so this guy here, he was in this bad relationship or something, and so his friends are telling him, to recite this thing and throw the tent into the river and the typewriter and stuff. Hey, Rosie, glad you made it. So now this guy's going to discuss the fact that like this girl gave this bum the coke and a quarter. So this guy is telling this girl all these, that he's, a John F. Kennedy conspiracist, and telling her all these books she needs to read and stuff. That's a good one, Chester. Chester is the real deal. Yeah, yeah. Juno is somewhere, someplace. Those are the best words, right? Where are you coming from? A funeral. Fantastic. That guy, that's in the back of the car. He's like this character actor. I forget his name. Talking about his how he hated his stepfather and shit. I couldn't wait for the bastard to die. All work and twisted tea makes me an asshole. Eh, I think any kind of imbibement can make people be an asshole if they drink enough of it. Lord knows one of my friends who, you know, almost killed us several times and uh, you know, just do stupid shit and couldn't fucking remember anything the next day. There's a shot of an early like subway there. So this guy's being interviewed and these people and stuff, and he's basically saying he doesn't work, but he goes, I mainly live badly, but at least I don't have to work to do it, stuff. Every single commodity you produce is a piece of your own death. Brisket, 99 cents a pound. That was fucking cheap. There's a Ron Paul truck. Wow, that was a long time ago. Oh, you're welcome, Kathy. I'm glad you're here. I was hoping I could get a hold of you to see if you wanted to come join me tonight and stuff. This is the scene where the old man comes in and this guy's in his house and then he pulls a gun out on him and shit. It's like, and now the guy's confused, because he's like this would-be robber and stuff. Brisket wasn't kosher or the frisky. Yeah, well, I can't believe how this guy sort of equates how Charles Whitman was a man when, when he's talking about like, and just, and things like that. It's totally different than this. Whackers. I'm surprised you've never seen this, Rosie. I'm glad you made that through, P, because that, you know, you were on some epic rants, that's for sure. Yeah, we are glad he made it across the street. This whole deal where this guy has this TV strapped to his back, this whole setup where he has a folding chair upside down with the TV in it, and then he has it strapped to his back like a backpack or some shit. Warning, Bill Robinson. Warning, Bill Robinson. You know, Bill Robinson, I think it was the basketball player. Apparently, he was loaded. If you know what I mean, but I don't know. I don't know anything about that. No, Peyton, Juno's not going to be with me for the next couple of weeks. He's got some other obligations and stuff. Oh yeah, well Juno's he's always around. He's like I said, he's just got things to do. I don't ever have things to do. That's why I'm always here. I'm just kidding. This, see, Rosie, you're missing this whole deal about this woman who is setting up her like menstrual cycle on this fucking like lawn type thing. And it's some kind of weird project. It's bizarre. Well, that's okay, Kathy. I can understand. I just kind of picked, this night and all that, but I, in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna switch off to Thursday for one night, and then I'll do You know, like um, I probably actually be early. That depends on the movie I'm doing, but I'm not totally sure. Well, it's no problem, you know. I mean, I would, you know, I enjoy the company. Whoever wants, you know, to like join me, you know, I don't really care. I asked a bunch of people, and you know, people were too busy doing things and stuff like that. So it's all good. But it was fun hanging out with you and Jay today. Yes, I've heard the Pogues Russell, and yes, Shane McGowan. His teeth were terrible. But since you like to throw fun facts around, pre-Pogues, Shane McGowan was in a punk band called the Nipple Erectors. So there you go. Thursday is your church hockey league. Okay. Mhm. Teaching kids bribery, watching Scooby Doo. Yeah, the people in here, it's funny because I had some friends that were living there like around the time this was made. And one of my friends, you know, I told him, I said, I'm going to show Slacker. He goes, oh, I know everybody in that film. I don't know if he knew everybody. I mean, I know a couple of people, but, you know, haven't seen them in years. And fortunately, one of them's passed away. So getting kids used to seeing blue people. This is when you could still smoke in restaurants and stuff, which, you know, I couldn't stand anyway. You know, yes, Rosie, this is Linklater's first film. I used to like when they had smoking in restaurants, and they, you know, I'd be with a group of people and they'd say smoking or non-smoking, and I'd always say non-smoking. None of us has the urge to suddenly set ourselves on fire at the moment. Yeah, that's fucked up, Kathy. You know, I couldn't deal with something like that. Yes, he did do Dazed and Confused at the beginning of the stream. I talked about some of the stuff that he had done, like Dazed and Confused, and he did School of Rock. One of the ones I actually want to show is his sort of quasi sequel to Dazed and Confused, called Everybody Wants Some. It was the first thing that I ever saw, um, like Wyatt Russell in and stuff, and it actually kind of like it takes place around, I would say, around 85, 86 when it's supposed to be. And so instead of it being like high school kids, it's more college kids, but it sets the tone, like right, and how, I remember Austin back in that time. Aged and Refused. Well, that was one that you know that would have been a different type of college film. But yeah, I really do like Everybody Wants Some. I actually kind of like it a bit better than Dazed and Confused. I mean, Dazed and Confused is really good. Don't get me wrong, but I think story structure in Everybody Wants Some is a lot better. You know, but I mean, he's done a lot of different stuff, because I've never seen, like I was saying, I want to do Before Sunrise. I've never seen that at all, and it was a friend of mine's like favorite film. Like he's passed away now, but he told me, he goes, you got to see this movie and whatnot. And so I haven't seen it though. Chester, like, he could do the Matthew McConaughey part, and and like when he says, "Have you got any weed?" "No, sorry." "Well, it would be a lot better if you did." It was see, this was 90. I think Dazed and Confused. Hold on a minute. I can check this thing here. This handy little motherfucker right here was 93. N3. Thank you, bro. Matthew McConaughey. That fucking movie that McConaughey did, The Lincoln Lawyer, that's some good shit right there. And that movie he did, the Dallas Buyers Club. We used to do that shit sometimes at shows, fucking lick our wrists and somebody would give us a stamp and shit. Hey, Lay, Ian Curtis was here. He was hanging around for a while, but then he left. Yeah, I know that was that's a crazy film. Yeah, I wanted one of those fucking Pixel Vision cameras and stuff. Hey, Johnny, good to see you, brother. The Warren Commission, a Shriner convention without go karts. That's an epic line if I ever heard one. Debbie Does Dallas Buyers Club. I semi remember that one. I know, Lay, it is a bummer, that he was not. He was here, he was hanging around, but then, you know, he kept muttering something about love would tear him apart. Yes, everybody needs a Madonna pap smear. I think the band in this bit at the Continental Club was Ed Hall. They were pretty cool. Actually, around that time, there were actually through the '80s as well. But there were a lot of really cool bands from Texas. Night, Chris. Talk to you soon. No lay fucking mayor hasn't been in here. He's only been to like one of my streams, and it was funny because like he was like, I didn't even know you did streams. And then he came in like one night, and I think he was freaked out because I showed the clip of the deleted scene from Creep Show that Johnny did with Juno dancing as Ed Harris, and he was just like, "What the fuck?" You know, I think it scared him a little bit. The toy and the plastic bubble wrap. Yeah, there we go. Actually, his the first thing he was in was Devil's Reign. It wasn't, he didn't have a huge part and stuff, but it had that deal where he said, blasphemer, get him, he's a blasphemer, and his fucking face melts off and shit. And you got fucking Ernest Borgnine with the devil horns and shit. The thing about the Madonna pap smear, Kathy, was that in that scene, the girl that's doing that was this friend of mine, Teresa. She used to play drums for the Butthole Surfers and stuff, but she passed away of cancer like a couple of years ago. Yeah, he definitely is a regular there, like he probably is. She was a sweetheart. She'd always ask people, like on Facebook for like movie recommendations and stuff while she was sick because she's like, I need stuff to watch. So I would throw things at her. I don't know if she ever watched stuff or not, but she was really a good person. And then it's funny because the other drummer, King, he was, his real name is Jeff, but he'd go by King Coffee. That was his name. And they looked actually kind of alike, and so same sort of facial features. And so for years they told everybody that they were twins, but they weren't. But it was a good rib on everybody and stuff. This old man talking into the tape recorder, that's probably going to be like me in about like 20 years if I make it that long. Yeah, Antoine's. I I never lived in Austin. Like a bunch of my friends had moved, there, and they wanted me to move there too. But I was like, nah, it was kind of too busy for me and stuff. And I don't know, I didn't know if I could get around good, and so I never did. And I moved to California instead. Yeah, I know I can talk to a tape recorder now, but I need the little beret and everything and stuff, and like some golf shirts. Austin Titty Limits. Yeah, that's the strip show version. This guy with his big old fucking microphone driving around with his speakers on tough. top of the car and everything, I'm glad that you've seen this, Kathy, because when you and Jay said, "Oh yeah, well, we both like it, love that movie," and I was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Wow, cool," And then they're all filming that fucker, and he's like, "What the hell?" See, this is the kind of you know dance like part, with the this 50s music playing and no audible dialogue. So there you go. Yeah, it is a rite of passage, that's for sure. I really want to do like Boyhood, but it's like 3 hours long. It's like, oof, that's a stretch. But that would have to kind of be a you know a an early one. I could have been the king of Austin. Yeah. What's happening, Mayor? I'm glad you dropped in, brother. It's the one thing, is that, you know, I love everybody that comes in here, mi familia, because it's like I've got, a great group of people that I've met over the years and stuff. And oh man, there's like something I could say, but I can't say it because, Russell's in the house and, he might get upset. It's not about him though. So, something you don't have to worry about. Juan Mayer. That's the only good thing, Mayor is winning, free shit on there. I don't, I was buying stuff for somebody a couple years ago on that shit, and and it wasn't. I mean, I bought a few things, for myself, but you know, I made the mistake of trusting this, fake, phony hair metal bitch. And I think that spills the beans on who that was and all that, but it doesn't matter. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, there are people that really live for like that, you know, website. And I'm like, well, that's kind of nice that, I guess they free up the little, Chinese kids out of their cages for a while to, pack packages, send them to people. You're welcome, Alan. Yeah, that was the end of the movie and stuff and all that. And Richard Linklater is in the beginning. He should have stayed at the bus station. That's the name of his character and stuff. I love the names of these characters. Hit and Run, some grocery grabber of Death's Bounty. You know, Paranoid paper reader. Coke heist accomplice. Yeah, Anarchist's Daughter. That was Kathy McCarty, who was in this band called Glass Eye, who were really good. That's the one I think Brian Beatty was in. Yeah, he played the drums in Glass Eye, and then his girlfriend was also in there. Yeah, and the band playing at the club was Ed Hall. You're welcome, Rosie. Ends up at the thrift. Yeah, that's true. I always used to call like thrift stores theft stores because you didn't know if anybody, if all the stuff you were buying had been stolen or not. And Tim Kerr gets a thanks in that. And Ray Washam does as well. And it's funny because there's like a Hickoid song, and a friend of mine actually did perform. Well, he played drums for the Hickoids for a while. But yeah, Crust is, they had music by Crust and Ed Hall and stuff. So they had some good, um, Austin music and things. So it was good. This story was based on fact. Anything similarity with fictional events or characters is entirely coincidental. You're welcome, Brooke. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that. Mayor Ian Curtis was actually here for a bit. He was hanging around, and stuff. So, yeah, he was mumbling something about um, love was tearing him apart. You're welcome, P. Night, Russell. Do another stream. Oh man, I wish I could, but then I'd have to charge my phone. Thank you, Chester. I I want, Chester is the goat, and and I always have to mention that the people that watch the replay, one of you know our main cats and all around good guy, Todd Christian, will be watching this some stuff, and so shout out to him. But it's epic that you showed up, Mayor. That would be cool, Mayor, but I don't want to have to, run in there and I don't know, like the stream and play things backwards and all that kind of weird shit that a lot of these streamers require you to do, like to be like a get free stuff. The good thing about transmission is it's not about a car. That would have sucked, if it would have been about a car. I could, one night sometime. Mayor, yeah, that would actually be cool. If you would wanna, I could do a stream for the Devo documentary, and you could, you know, join me if you wanted to. I mean, hell, we'd be a really better pair than Dana and herself. I mean, what? I didn't say that. Something. He's only asking for a semen sample. Yeah, well, some people probably would, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know who that is. I don't know. That just was something that hit me in the head for a second, and I don't even know. You know, we hate her now. We've hated her for quite a bit. I mean, something, 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 something. Oh, I do suggest that everybody watch The Home with Pete Davidson. It's fucking great. I know people hate Pete Davidson, but this movie was epic and he was really fucking good. And it's a bloody fucking mess. Um, so yeah, well, yeah, bad flashback. She's like a Nam flashback, you know, and we weren't even there. Although I used to tell people that I was actually there when I was 4, running through the jungles, and things of that sort. Own collection, yes. Well, I'm glad you're on our side. Since you're still here late, one of the things that I do sometimes, if I can find it, is I usually read synopsises of like Hallmark or like Lifetime movies, and tell you what I think of them without even watching them, because you know how they're all going to be, because all that satanic Hallmark shit, especially around Christmas, is the worst. But there's some like fucking prime series called The Summer I Turned Pretty, but I call it The Summer I Turned Shitty because I believe that's probably really what it's about. There's some weird show here on BET. It's a BET original called Churchy. It says when Corey Carr Jr. is overlooked for his father's megachurch leadership, he ventures to rural Texas to build his own ministry from scratch. You know what that means. That's some cult bullshit right there. We're not having it. Fuck that. It's not even a church's chicken. It's a goddamn church. So fuck that. Damn, some of the shit, you know. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. That's right. It was like when I showed around Christmas last year, Feast of Seven Fishes, which is an excellent fucking Christmas movie. I spent like a good 20 minutes afterwards going through these Hallmark films, and oh my god, we were almost literally on the floor at my descriptions. And I don't tread that lightly because I don't like to talk about myself and shit, you know. Oh yeah, there's this new MGM Plus series called "Let the Devil In" about some kid that like murdered his mother, and then he takes off, and the cops are looking for him. I mean, it's real shit. But like, I didn't, I'd never heard of that, but apparently, I watched the first episode, and it's all like this fucking, you know, weird deal, because he had some sort of thing. It's basically, the bullshit, the satanic panic bullshit. Nobody watching their kid close, enough to know what the little bastard was up to. But that's why parents need to be parents and not I don't know. But like, I'm not a parent, so I'm not gonna make judgment on anything. I think I think all parents should be forced to listen to Frankie Teardrop by Suicide, and then they can come to their own fucking conclusion about how they want to proceed, with their kids. You remember Lifetime doing some horror movie one where there was a semi driver killer based on a Stephen King. Unfortunately, I got wrapped up into two of them by mistake. One was like a Slender Man one or something. And after I watched it, I was like, okay, this is one of the most boring fucking pieces of shit I've ever watched in my life. And then I realized, at the end, it was like, Lifetime. I'm like, well, that's why. And then there was one that they actually tried to do on the West Memphis 3, which was just absolutely fucking atrocious. And I didn't know that one was a Lifetime one either. And I was like, these people should be shot and murdered. Like, whoops. So there's like Hallmark Plus, but what's so plus about Hallmark? Stuff just sickens me. See, the thing is that I mean, even with the titles, you just know that it's not going to go well. A movie called Catch of the Day, yeah, hmm that could go really bad. And then there's something here called the Chicken Sisters. I don't want to know. Then something called Double Scoop. No, 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 no. Providence Falls, and maybe it should. Christmas at Sea. Yeah, that Legionnaire's disease on a boat, I'm sure. Yeah, okay. Oh, Pie to Die For. Okay, there you go. I want to definitely go see The Long Walk. Satan always getting the blame when it's usually right wingers and members of the clergy. That's absolutely true. I cannot deny that. Yeah, I definitely want to go see Long Walk. Tomorrow I'm going to see Caught Stealing. I was going to go see Nobody too, but it's sort of leaving the theater, so there's only like one showing at 10 at night, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So yeah, Hallmark porn, something like that. I don't know if they'd be related to the chicken lady from Kids in the Hall. God, that would be awful. You know, the one. This is funny though. That one guy, Kevin, I think his name is, from Kids in the Hall, the kind of skinny guy with the curly hair. I guess he does those cameo things or whatever. And so, for a friend's birthday a couple of years ago, somebody sent him one, and it wasn't even like 5 minutes. He did like a fucking like 25, almost half hour like message to him, and it was just insane. I mean, it was wonderful. It was like, holy shit, this is epic as fuck. To Barcelona with Love. Never knew her. To Barcelona Forever. Holy shit. What's next? To Barcelona on Fire. A Machu Picchu Proposal. Oh, that can't be good. See, I mean, these things are all fucked up. The Reluctant Royal. Yeah, okay. And it looks like half the same people are like in every fucking movie on here or something. I just can't anymore. It's like just ridiculous. Take a walk on the wild side. That's right. You can get a Vince Neil cameo drunk and slurring his speech. Yeah, I bet that would be great. Send him like a question. I want to know why you're so fat, or something stupid like that. So you just send an angry one and stuff. I remember like Van Vader was doing some of those when he was still alive, and they have those samples you can watch. And there was one where he's like totally doing like a total wrestling promo and character shooting on some poor little kid. You need to do your homework, you know, shit. Just like, all right, that's what I want to, have send my kid, so he'll be freaking the fuck out. I haven't seen those yet, but I hear they're fucking awful. They're pretty bad. But still, I'd rather see Diamond Dave than Vince Neil. So, what do you say, Mary? You want to do the watch stream for the um, Devo documentary at some point? Yeah, they definitely should all give up. I 100% behind you there. Lay. The day the dinosaurs die. Oh, I don't think I can handle that. Well, we could just, you know, you could do, I could do it with somebody else, but have you, join in the comments and stuff like that. That's fine. I gotcha. No, no worries. Actually, Lay said she was going to join me on, for something several months ago, and then didn't. So, she still owes me one. Yeah, the mayor was on, somebody that, well, we don't remember who it was, but one time I remember. Well, good, Lay. I appreciate that. Damn. Yeah, I know you said they kicked you, but I mean, I know, there are other ways, other places to find, you know, uh, stuff. But I have a question for the room, like, you ever like watch a movie and then totally think like, you know, you're like, yeah, I just watched that, and then, you know, you don't remember a fucking thing about it, and you're like, I know I thought I watched this, and then you go back and you're like, and it shows that you watched it, but you still don't like, well, what the fuck, and I know I didn't fall asleep, but I don't know, it's crazy. Yeah, they are, pretty much. Yeah, they do. In fact, I just watched a couple of days ago, I watched the Jeff Buckley documentary. Holy fuck, was that good? That was a ride. That was good. Well, if you watch this, you know, you probably might get into them because I mean, it's so weird because I remember the day that they found his body. This friend of mine had gone, well, two friends of mine had gone to Georgia, and they were going to this show, this club, to see. Trying to remember who it was, but the whole thing was that Michael Stipe was supposedly going to be there, and then Bill Berry was going to be there as well, and then they were there, so it was a semi REM reunion, so to speak, and like it was the first time Bill Berry had like drummed because of, he had had that those two brain hemorrhages, and so when they were at the show, Stipe came out and he announced to everybody that Jeff Buckley's body had been found, and then they dedicated the show to him. So it was fucking weird. You're right, Kathy. That's for sure. Yeah, I agree with that too, Mayor. I mean, sometimes I'll just be sitting in front of my TV going through, and then I'll just put shit on a list for like 2 hours and not watch anything. And I'm like, fuck, why did I do that? It's like, nope. Crazy stuff, like that. It's just like so fucked up because it's like now we have all this, kind of convenience, with everything, which is kind of what Fahrenheit 451 was. It was like, oh, we want to burn the books and want everybody to fucking watch TV. And it's like, damn, that's pretty pathetic. And even though, we don't burn books and shit like that, but that's pretty much. Well, that's a good thing too, to find movies on YouTube. I've been watching, like, there's a channel that I like a lot called Retro Cult, where this guy will make these lists of like the 13 13 black exploitation films, or the most, like 50 sci-fi, or just all sorts of different lists. And so he'll show a little clip from each one, and that's a really good channel because it keeps your attention span pretty good. Most things last about 20 to 25 minutes and whatnot. Yep. And then there's Tubi as well. Yeah, that's true too, Mary. And then there's other times people will put fucking movies up on YouTube, and you're like, oh, cool. And then it's like not even the movie. They want you to like click some other fucking link to, some fucking, you know, thing. And, it's like, well, that's a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, there's that too, because there was, P. Rich, there was that time that I was showing Blood Rage, and I gave everybody this fucking YouTube link, and they cut out all the gore scenes. It's like, oh, that's nice. Like, and so I hated that because I had to apologize to everybody because I'm watching, the uncut movie, and everybody else is like, what the fuck is this? This is bullshit. I'm like, well, I didn't know. I should have checked it. You said you have HBO Max, right, Kathy? Because I was going to tell you to watch the Serial Killer's Apprentice. That one's a wild one. It's like instead of it being a series, they made it as, like a documentary film. And it's about, Elmer Wayne Henley and Dean, whatever the fuck his name was, uh, Dean Coral or whatever the fuck his name was, about those, he killed those teens back in 73 here. And it's weird because, I mean, I was like 8 years old and I barely remember, I mean, I sort of remember that going on, but it was weird to like go back and go, holy shit, this is weird, and then see all the old places in Houston and Pasadena and stuff. Oh, okay, you already watched it. Yeah, that was nuts. It really was. I was like, damn. It's kind of like, yeah, see, that's what I thought. That's why I asked, and stuff. So it's like I could just go through like a list here. You ever do that? You're like, sucks, sucks, sucks. It's kind of okay, not so good, good. Complete trash. Things of that sort. Right, Mayor? I kind of I can agree with you on that. Although the Netflix series are pretty decent. I mean, the one on Richard Ramirez was pretty fucking good, and then the one that I just watched on Son of Sam, where he's actually, actually talking about stuff because he doesn't talk about that shit anymore. But when he opened up to this one guy, that was actually pretty interesting. Put a lot of shit in perspective. Yeah, I can agree with you on that too. Well, that's why like I will I'm very sporadic with that because I don't want to do that either. I mean, I won't binge a lot of shit like that. Like I might watch an episode or two and then go to something else for a couple of days and then go back because that's too much, you know. Yeah, I watched that one as well. That was really like fucked up. And it's still unsolved, which was bullshit, you know. I really was hoping like that last episode they'd have something, and stuff about it, that they actually caught, somebody, and stuff. But it always does piss me off when there's something where somebody's like signing fucking false confessions or coerced into, a false confession. And then these fucking assholes, still, when they find out that the people, well, nope, they weren't guilty, they didn't have anything to do with it, but yet we're going to just, we're going to find them, they'll say that bullshit. We're going to find who this person is, but yet they're still, well, without a shadow of a doubt, this person's guilty. And it's like, they were not proven guilty, but yet you're going to stick this hard line that, these people are guilty. I mean, that's the same bullshit that like they did to the West Memphis Three, which was a total fucking travesty. Here's something I've never even heard of called Octopus, and it says it's a documentary. It says a story of lovers, Mexico, Tracy Morgan, and possibly aliens. In other words, it's a documentary about the octopus, narrated by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. That just sounds fucking whacked out to me. I mean, I don't know. I never even heard of it. Don't even. I don't understand that. That's weird. But I guess it's apparently at least the first episode is about an octopus. Weird. Okay. I don't get it, but I guess that means I'll have to watch it. Yeah, there should be, but considering they said that they couldn't really find anything at the time, and then I don't know. But just the fact that some of those guys told these absolutely absurd like lies that they were coerced into just doesn't make any sense either. But it was like when they talked about that book or whatever, like that kind of guidebook about how to get confessions and shit, and that's like the fuck, it's like okay. That sounds kind of interesting. Was it good, Mayor? The Dale. I wonder if it was named after Dale Crover. Just kidding, but you know, it'd kind of be cool though to have a car named after you. I think the Mayor. Like whatever kind of car you'd want. But it's called the Mayor. That would work. But yeah. Well, it's getting to be almost midnight here, and I'm sure you guys got other things you'd rather do than listen to me, like, you know, ask a bunch of, dumb questions and talk about, like, ridiculous stuff because I am a ridiculous person. Wow. It sounds kind of cool. I'll have to check that out. And on the run, off and on from the law. That, yeah, that does sound pretty cool. I'd have to check it out. Well, thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Mayor, for coming by, and P. Rich and Alan and Jimbo Jack and Rosie and Lay and Brooke Sauce and whatnot. Everybody that came in. Okay, that sounds cool. And of course, the goat Chester, and man, Marlos was here. It was a pretty fun crowd, and Sailor George, and I'm trying to remember, and Chris, of course, and everything was cool. There's no clowns with violins. But yeah, thanks guys for coming in, and love you all. See you all soon. Good night.